right, I got 2 more speakers and then we're going to open it up. Nobody cares if we go over, do they? No? All right. Next up, we got Daniel Neff. He's an Air Force veteran and cancer survivor. He's been unemployed since November. He is currently working on a book that deals with his trials and triumph over cancer, entitled God Said Not Yet, One Man's Experience with Terminal Cancer. Please give a hand for Daniel Neff.
Thank you. I might want to just explain part of that title there. With terminal cancer, the reason I'm not dead is it was 10 years ago and I was told I was going to die from it. But I use an alternative method and I'm alive and well today. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I wonder why many of you are here today. I know some of you have been with this movement from the beginning, but I know a lot of you haven't because I was here last year and this is a much bigger crowd. So some of you may have just recently gotten involved, and maybe some of you are here today just out of curiosity. You've heard about the Tea Party movement. You wanted to see for yourself what it's all about. A couple of the claims that critics of this movement make is that we hate government and we don't want to pay any taxes. First of all, we don't hate government. We want limited government that follows the Constitution and that derives its power from the consent of the governed, which is us. And we want representatives that listen to us and that actually read bills before they vote on them and know what's in them. That's right. And we don't oppose all taxes, just unnecessary excessive taxes. Things like putting an extra tax on tanning salons to pay for health care reform. We want to pay our taxes, but only for those things that the Constitution authorizes, not a bunch of unconstitutional, bloated, wasteful programs and agencies. And we want a government that understands the American legacy, which is leaving to our children a better America than the one our parents left us. Not saddling them with a debt they can't repay and shrinking individual liberties. There's a lot of speculation as to why Tea Partiers get involved. I want to tell you why I think it is, what I think is the main driving force behind the greatest grassroots movement since the American Revolution. And I alluded to it earlier. I have an 11-year-old son. Most of you have children, many of you have grandchildren, and maybe some of you have great-grandchildren. You want your children and grandchildren to have the same opportunities and blessings that you had. You see the direction that the country is headed, you don't like it, and you're not going to sit back and let it happen anymore. From the beginning of this movement, the liberal media and even some of our representatives have engaged in smear tactics to try and discredit us and discourage us. The funny thing, though, everything they do to try and destroy this movement only makes it grow stronger. You know, in the opening prayer, Lou Ann talked about us being at a crossroads. I spoke last year and I talked about us being at a crossroads, and that if we didn't do something, that we were going to head down the road to ruin, financial ruin, loss of freedom. Well, from what I see all across this country with the Tea Party just exploding, is that people have come to that crossroads and said, we're not going down that road. We're going down the road that's harder, but the road that's going to fix this country. Yeah. The people that have tried to tear down this movement have underestimated our heart and our resolve. They don't realize how important our freedom is to us. And they don't realize how important it is to us to leave to our children a better America than the one our parents left us. And they don't realize that we will never, ever give up until they give us back our country. Sometimes it seems that all this legislation they're passing is not just random. It seems like there is a system designed to fundamentally change this country. The stimulus, healthcare reform, cap and tax that they're trying to ram through next. Back in the years leading up to the American Revolution, British Parliament had imposed a series of laws on the colonies that took more and more power and control from the colonies and centralized it with the British Crown. Richard Henry Lee of Virginia described what came to be known as the Intolerable Acts as a most wicked system for destroying the liberty of America. A most wicked system for destroying the liberty of America. The more things change, the more they stay the same. There's a line from the Declaration of Independence that we've all heard, hopefully, and it reads, "For the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." Our quality of life is constantly being eroded by progressives in government. Our fortunes or our wealth is constantly being taxed away at greater and greater rates to pay for out-of-control spending in government. And that's not just limited to the federal government. That's happening in the state and local governments too. State and local governments across this country are being run to the ground and are on the brink of bankruptcy because of out-of-control spending. And that stimulus plan last spring that was supposed to stimulate the private economy and create jobs, most of that money went to bailing out state and local governments that were bleeding red ink. Right, it didn't stimulate a single thing, it didn't create any jobs. All it did was pile more debt on the backs of our children. This has to stop. And finally, our sacred honor, our reputation is constantly under attack. By the president, by the media, maybe you have coworkers or family and friends that talk about you behind your back because you're involved in this movement or roll their eyes at you. To be involved in this movement, you have to be willing to sacrifice your sacred honor or your reputation. But I ask you this, is the country you leave your children, is your reputation more important than the country you leave your children? Is your life, is your wealth, is there anything more important to you than leaving to your children a better, stronger, and freer America? I say no. In closing, Ronald Reagan, when asked what his strategy was for winning the Cold War, he said, "We win, they lose." In this battle, we win, they lose. It seems like we've lost the last two